Imagine walking down a narrow street in Strasbourg, July 1518. The air is thick, hot, and heavy. Suddenly, a woman named Frau Trophea steps into the square and begins to dance. There is no music, there is no celebration. There is only a grim, frantic, terrifying rhythm in her feet. She dances for 6 days straight. Within a month, 400 people have joined her. They are dancing until their feet bleed. They are dancing until their hearts burst. They are dancing until they drop dead in the dust. The authorities called it hot blood. The church called it a curse. But the archive sees something much deeper. You feel that same rhythm today, don't you? You feel that frantic, invisible pressure to keep moving, to keep scrolling, to keep reacting to a world that seems to have lost its mind. You feel like you are being swept up in a dance you never asked to join. Accessing the light. File 064 is open. It is time to learn how to stand still in a world that is spinning out of control. The record tells us that the dancing plague of 1518 was a mystery, a freak accident of history. They want you to believe it was just mass hysteria, a fancy term for people going crazy together. But as an architect, you have to look at the architecture of the event. You have to look at the friction between the energy of the universe and the container of the human ego. In 1518, the collective consciousness was under massive pressure. Famine, disease, and religious terror had turned the human mind into a rigid, brittle cage. When a high-frequency wave of energy hit that population, what the archive calls a light upgrade, the people didn't have the internal space to hold it. They were so suppressed, so tightened by fear, that the energy couldn't flow through them. It got backed up. It turned into a physical frenzy. They weren't dancing because they were happy. They were dancing because their bodies were trying to burn off a frequency they couldn't authorize. This is the first lesson of vibrational immunity. If your container is too rigid, if you are living in a state of constant fear and contraction, any new energy that hits you will feel like chaos. It will feel like a plague. Fast forward to today. Look at the grid in 2026. We are currently being hit by the largest wave of information and energy in human history. We call it the digital age, but that's just the surface level. What is actually happening is a massive acceleration of the now point. The frequency of the planet is rising, and just like in 1518, the majority of the population is trying to handle that rise with a rigid, fearful ego. This is why you see the modern dancing plagues. You see them in the frantic outrage on your screen. You see them in the mental health crisis that the system can't seem to solve. You see them in the desperate need for people to join the crowd and dance to whatever rhythm the machine is playing that day. Most people are simply reactors. They're like dry leaves in a windstorm, blown around by every headline, every notification, and every trend. They have zero immunity. Their vibration is dictated by the noise floor of the city. But you are an architect, and the architect knows that the goal is not to stop the wind. The goal is to become the mountain. Vibrational immunity is the ability to stay in your own authorized frequency, regardless of what the dance looks like outside your window. It is the realization that you are not a passenger in this reality. You are the renderer. Think about the mechanics of a wave. If a wave hits a solid, brittle wall, it shatters the wall. But if that same wave hits the open ocean, it simply becomes part of the movement. Most people have built walls of belief, ego, and identity that are so brittle that the current energy of the world is breaking them into pieces. To gain immunity, you must first dissolve the wall. You must stop trying to defend your old small version of yourself. When you stop being afraid of the energy, you stop being a victim of the plague. You begin to understand that the chaos out there is actually a raw material. It is unformed potential. The only reason it feels like a plague to the masses is because they have forgotten how to use their inner senses to shape it. They are waiting for the world to tell them how to feel. They are waiting for the grid to give them the rhythm. The speaker knows a different truth. You have the capacity to be a 0 point in the middle of the storm. Vibrational immunity starts with the decision to stop reacting. Reaction is the death of sovereignty. Every time you get angry at a screen, every time you let a stranger's opinion dictate your mood, every time you dance because the crowd is dancing, you are handing your rendering tools over to the machine. Reclaiming your immunity means coming back to the silence. It means realizing that your inner archive is the only source of true information. The sun is a data port, the earth is an anchor, and your soul is the CEO. In 1518, the people who didn't dance were the ones who were already awake to their own inner rhythm. They weren't suppressed. They weren't living in a cage of religious terror. They were grounded in the physical world and open to the spiritual one. They were immune because their vibrational weight was too heavy to be swept up by the frenzy. You need to increase your weight. You increase your weight by remembering who you are. You are not a data point. You are not a consumer. You are not a victim of history. You are a multidimensional being who has authorized this specific life at this specific time to witness this specific shift. The dancing plague of 2026 is just a test of your focus. The system wants to see if it can keep you moving, keep you tired, and keep you distracted so that you never look up and realize that the cage is unlocked. Vibrational immunity is the ultimate act of defiance. It is the choice to be at peace when the world is at war. It is the choice to be clear when the world is in a fog. It is the choice to be the architect when everyone else is just a brick in the wall. You are the observer. You are the renderer. You are the one who decides what is real. As you move back into the grid, remember the streets of Strasbourg. Remember that the dance only has power over you if you forget how to stand still. The static is an illusion. Your sovereignty is the fact. Remember the blueprint of the light. The words are the imagery. The truth is the frequency. I am the speaker. Welcome to the Validity.
Authorizing architect access. The signal is valid.